This seminar is for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Consult with your medical provider for medical advice or treatment. Although the presenters try to keep the information in this seminar as accurate and timely as possible, the speakers and Mather Hospital assume no duty to ensure the seminar is error-free. The speakers and Mather Hospital are not responsible or liable for any claim, loss, or damage resulting from you viewing this seminar.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our HealthyU webinar series. Today's topic is the Mediterranean diet. At any time during the presentation, please feel free to enter any questions you may have using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We will answer as many questions as we can within the time allotted once the presentation concludes. Your questions will remain anonymous. Today's presenter is Danielle Johnson. Danielle completed her bachelor's degree in nutrition as well as a dietetic internship at LIU Post, specializing in community nutrition. She also completed her master's degree in nutrition from Stony Brook University, specializing in integrative nutrition. She's passionate about holistic health, utilizing mindfulness and movement strategies as an adjunct to nutrition. Danielle also has certifications in yoga, personal training, and corrective exercise. Danielle, I'm going to get your presentation up, and then the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am here today to talk about inflammation and the Mediterranean diet. What is inflammation? Inflammation is a natural protective response by our immune system to some form of stress. When our body is injured, a series of chemical reactions are set in motion that increase blood flow to the affected area and activate our immune system to fight infection and promote healing. Common effects of this process include redness, warmth, swelling, and pain. What I'm referring to right now is acute inflammation. And as you can see on the slide, we have acute versus chronic inflammation. And I will go into a little bit more about what the differences are. But once the threat has been neutralized, our system returns to normal and the inflammation resolves. So as we can see, can you just go back one slide? Thank you. The acute inflammation is more like allergic reactions, exposure to chemical irritants, infection, trauma or injury, burns, cuts and wounds, frostbite. They're all short-term experiences, where chronic inflammation is more long-term. We've got like cardiovascular disease, autoimmune, cancer, lupus, chronic fatigue syndrome. There's a wide variety that could be considered chronic. Next slide. Chronic inflammation is a form of inflammation that is triggered by usually an unhealthy lifestyle. This can include exposure to environmental toxins, poor diet, stress, or it could also be related to an underlying health condition that could be genetic. Inflammation that becomes chronic is it's especially harmful due to the negative effects of long-term exposure to the chemical messengers and immune response that is meant to protect us. So acute inflammation is considered normal and expected. It's something, it'll happen for a short period of time and it goes back to normal, where chronic inflammation, it just is continuous and it's causing repeated damage to our body. It could result from oxidative stress from the overproduction of free radicals produced both during the immune response and normal metabolism. Next slide. So what are free radicals? Free radicals are unpaired electrons in our bodies. Within our body, they're not as cute as this picture I have here on the slide, but they're unstable atoms that can damage cells, causing illness and aging, which leads to chronic inflammation. And it can also exacerbate the aging process. Lifestyle factors that can accelerate the production of free radicals includes obesity, exposure to pesticides, air pollution, smoking, alcohol, processed fried foods. So a lot of this is stuff that is within our control. Some of it, technically is in our control, but we can't really do a lot about it in terms of stuff that's going on in the environment. That is really something that we all need to do as a society together. But the way to help quelch free radicals is antioxidants because they donate an electron to the free radical, which helps neutralize it. As you can see in the picture, the free radical in the middle is trying to steal atoms or electrons from the healthy atoms, and then antioxidants have extra ones to give to the free radical to pretty much just cancel it out. Next slide. Inflammation, oxidative stress, and nutrition. How are they related? Oxidative stress is an imbalance between the production of free radicals and the ability of the body to detoxify their harmful effects through neutralization by antioxidants. So we can get a lot of antioxidants through a healthy diet to help minimize the oxidative stress that's going on in the body. Chronic inflammation results in oxidative stress damaging components of the human body with free radicals, but it could be neutralized by the antioxidants we find in our foods. So looking at the picture on the slide, the decomposition of the apple when it's exposed to oxygen, which is oxidative stress, is something similar that we could see within the body. And that doesn't mean that if you eat an apple, this will happen. This is just using the decomposition of an apple to show you what could be going on inside the body to healthy cells. So a regular apple is the comparison to a normal cell. In the middle, we have an apple that's starting to break down because it's exposed to oxygen for a long period of time. And that leads to cells being attacked by free radicals. And then we see the further decomposition, which leads to a cell with oxidative stress. Next slide. And we do have a video that gives like a little bit of a deeper explanation to explore what this means.
About oxidative stress, free radicals, and antioxidants. With me, Katie Rose, the founder of Rising from Nutrition. So you may be thinking, what is oxidative stress? So oxidation is a natural process that happens to all living cells in nature, including our bodies. Oxidation is a result of oxygen producing a change in the cells. So here is a perfect example to explain. Like a cut apple, oxygen comes into contact with it, causing it to brown. This is oxidation. The further it's exposed to oxygen, the more it browns and starts to rot. So if you look at the picture below and you can see the normal healthy cell, you can see that the one next to it is being attacked by free radicals. This is what happens when oxygen comes in contact with it. The next cell is what it looks like with continued exposure to free radicals that produces oxidative stress in your body. Now, don't worry, the death and birth of new cells is a continuous process in our bodies. It's fundamental to keep our bodies healthy. This process of oxidation causes free radicals in our bodies. Let's break it all down. Let's talk about free radicals. What are they? These are what make you old. Here is a normal healthy molecule. It has paired electrons. It's stable. Here is an unhealthy molecule. As you can see, it is missing an electron. This causes the molecule to become unstable. This produces a free radical. So here is your free radical. As you can see, it is not happy. So you may be thinking, what does a free radical actually do? Some cells get damaged and their molecules become free radicals, as we said before. Free radicals are highly reactive chemicals that can harm cells. They are constantly being created through breathing, exercising, and digesting food. The main problem is free radicals tend to injure the cell, damaging the DNA. So when a cell's DNA changes, the cells become mutated, which can lead to chronic health problems, including cancer. Once you have a free radical, it starts to steal an electron from a neighboring molecule, causing that molecule to become a free radical itself. The new free radical starts to steal electrons from the next molecule. This is how a chemical chain reaction is started, producing oxidative stress. So what can cause free radicals? External toxins such as air pollutants, alcohol, cigarette smoke, stress, UV rays, and your diet are all massive free radical producers and can easily overwhelm the body's natural defense system. Repeated or prolonged free radical damage, which the body cannot stop, can lead to increased risk of degenerative diseases, such as cancer, Alzheimer's, aging, immune damage, heart disease, and over 90 other diseases. So how can we stop free radicals? Easy. Antioxidants. So antioxidants are crucial to our survival. Without them, oxidation would destroy our bodies. Antioxidants are the body's defense mechanism against free radicals. So remember a free radical? The one with the unpaired electron, the unstable one, the angry one. Well, antioxidants are molecules that can safely donate an electron to a free radical, neutralizing it, terminating the chain reaction before molecules like DNA are damaged. Once the chain reaction has been stopped, it prevents further cell damage, reducing the risk of degenerative diseases and slows down the aging process. So you're probably thinking, where can I get my hands on some antioxidants? You can find antioxidants in fruits, vegetables, pulses, seeds, and some supplements. So essential antioxidants. Our lives depend on essential antioxidants, such as vitamin E, vitamin C, beta-carotene, and selenium. These are not created by the body, so we must source them from foods. The body needs a mix of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to neutralize free radicals. It has to be a wide variety of food, as each type works in different tissues of your body and in different parts of your cells. So what if you don't get enough antioxidants? Oxidative stress. As we said before at the beginning, if free radicals surpass the antioxidant capacity in our bodies, oxidative stress will happen. So go and eat your fruit and vegetables. Thank you for watching, and I really hope that this helps.
Okay.
When we were a motorized bicycle company, they said, "You'll never be more than that."
Okay. So I did see a couple of people wrote comments that there was no visual. I didn't see it either. I wasn't sure how the participants see the screen, but I will say I've seen the video before, so it's really more about what she was saying, and it was really just reinforcing what I had went over in the first few slides of the presentation, but I am going to go over about all the different foods containing antioxidants and the Mediterranean diet, so we will go more into that. What makes the Mediterranean diet so healthy? It has been shown to decrease chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. So just to again reinforce, chronic inflammation is when the immune system mistakenly attacks normal tissues. It plays a role in a range of conditions from autoimmune conditions to cancer. And oxidative stress is caused by free radicals. It can damage all components of the cell, including our DNA. The scientific evidence for the Mediterranean diet is extremely strong. It has been researched for over 50 years, and it is one of the most common diets to be researched. It has been ranked the best overall diet for the past 4 years, the best plant-based, best heart healthy, best diabetes, best for health, and easiest to follow. Some of the health outcomes for Mediterranean diet includes increased lifespan, improved brain function, better eye health, lower risk of certain cancers, lower risk of heart disease, lower risk of diabetes, lower levels of blood pressure, LDL cholesterol. It improves arthritis, reduces oxidative stress, and modulates inflammation. One thing that I really want to emphasize is that this is not a fad diet like keto or intermittent fasting or all these other diets that come out, every single week or however often fad diets emerge. It is a way of life, and it's not a restrictive diet either. It's simply what you eat. And because we have so many fad diets out in the world, it does kind of confuse just our minds about what a diet is. It is what you eat and how you eat. And it doesn't necessarily need to have a name. It's more of just a pattern. It does not always need to be restrictive and rigid, and it doesn't always focus on weight loss. And the Mediterranean diet is not low fat or low carb. It delivers numerous health benefits, and it's a very plant heavy, balanced diet. Next slide. The eating pattern for Mediterranean diet is inspired by eating habits of people who live in Greece and Italy in the 1960s. This was when the research on the dietary pattern has started. It's very flexible because there is a variety of different eating patterns within the Mediterranean. People who live in Greece versus Italy versus France and Spain, they all eat very different from each other based on the foods that are readily available to them and what they grow and raise on their farms. And they do follow a lot of the similar principles, which include eating whole grains, fruits, vegetables, beans, herbs, spices, nuts, and healthy fats. So these are really all the plant foods, and they really put a high emphasis on plant foods. They also consume fish and seafood, usually twice a week. Moderate intake of dairy, eggs, and poultry. This is really where like the variety and flexibility comes in, because moderate can be different for different cultures, and some people just have different outlooks on those types of foods. So moderate could be once a week, or it could be once a day. And then occasionally eating other meats like red meats, and occasionally eating sweets. Next slide. The most important aspects of the Mediterranean diet, again, fruit, nuts, whole grains, dairy, fish, high amounts of healthful fats from vegetable oils, minimally processed foods. When it comes to processed foods, there is a spectrum. We have our minimally processed foods like canned beans, or ultra processed foods like a microwave bean burrito from the freezer. And then really minimal or no amounts whatsoever of highly processed foods, refined carbohydrates like white bread, white pasta, cookies, cakes. Those are all made with refined carbohydrates. Processed meats, trans fats that are added to processed foods, and sugar sweetened beverages like juice, soda, iced tea, high sugar coffees like things that you could potentially be getting at Starbucks or Dunkin'. It's very minimal. Next slide. The Mediterranean diet pyramid. Back in the day in America, we also had the Mediterranean diet. The food pyramid is what we used to have. Now we moved to something different called My Plate, but Mediterranean diet pyramid just kind of shows like an easy way to see what like the foundation of the Mediterranean diet is. Again, it's plant foods, fruits, vegetables, grains, oils, which are made from plants, beans, nuts, legumes, seeds, and even herbs and spices, because there's a lot of health benefits around fresh herbs and fresh spices. And then we kind of stack on top of the foundation with fish and seafood, poultry, eggs, cheese, and yogurt, and then just really limiting the red meats and sweets. It's something that we can consume, just we want to have that less often compared to all the other nutrient-dense whole foods. And then on the side of it, we always want to make sure that we're drinking adequate water, and wine in moderation. I usually try not to emphasize that because in general, most people in America don't really practice moderation with alcohol, so it's not something that I usually really like to cover with people. Next slide. Healthy fats. So this is a huge cornerstone of the Mediterranean diet. Some people in Italy literally will consume like half a cup to a cup of olive oil throughout the day. And that doesn't mean like they're sitting there drinking it. It's just that it's incorporated into a lot of their recipes, meals, and snacks. But healthy fats are an important part of the Mediterranean diet, and olive oil is the primary source. It provides monounsaturated fat, which has been found to lower cholesterol, and the LDL cholesterol, which is known to be more harmful. Nuts and seeds also contain monounsaturated fats, so almonds, Brazil nuts, hazelnuts, cashews, pistachios, those are all very healthy nuts to include. Chia seeds, flax seeds are also really great. Even things like pumpkin seeds and some other seeds as well. Fatty fish are a great way to get healthy fats in, especially to get the omega-3 fatty acids. So fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, albacore tuna, salmon, lake trout are all very great sources of omega-3 fatty acids. The omega-3 fats help decrease triglycerides, reduce blood clotting risk by helping thin the blood a little bit, and it decreases the risk of stroke and heart failure. Next slide. Omega-3 versus omega-6. We do need both, but typically in America, we get way too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3. Before we start industrializing the food system, so thinking back like in the 1800s, maybe even earlier, typically the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in the standard American diet was a 1-to-1 ratio. Today, the typical American diet now, like I said, has much more omega-6 than omega-3, and it's more of a 10-to-1 ratio to 20-to-1 ratio. The higher ratio of omega-6 compared to omega-3 is what contributes to inflammation because it is highly imbalanced. As you can see by the picture on here, a lot of what the standard American diet is heavily processed foods, a lot of added sugar, saturated fats, and sodium. These all contribute and trigger inflammation in addition to the omega-6, omega-3 imbalance. And these come from a lot of foods like sugar-sweetened beverages, highly processed meats, cookies, cakes, candy, fast food, all the things that we know really aren't that healthy for us. Next slide. And just to kind of give a little quick breakdown on omega-6 and omega-3, omega-6 is going to be found in foods like vegetable oils, margarine, nuts, seeds, grains, and conventional meats. Omega-3 is found in foods like salmon, tuna, sardines, mackerel, flaxseed, and chia seeds. And I do want to point out that omega-6 sources do contain healthy foods, but it's also found in a lot of meat products and processed products because of the vegetable oils and because of how animals are fed. They're fed a lot of processed grains when they're being raised to pasture. And then we are consuming higher amounts of omega-6 by consuming the meat. And that doesn't necessarily mean we need to be vegetarians, but we do also have to be mindful of the sources that it's coming from and making sure that we're getting a nice balance in general. So the omega-6, when we have too much of it, it is pro-inflammatory. Omega-3 is anti-inflammatory, and that's why we want to have a nice balance so that there isn't inflammation. Next slide. The Mediterranean diet is considered easy to follow. It might sound a little complicated, but in general, we want to make small changes here and there just to move a little bit closer towards a Mediterranean diet for the health benefits. Some simple ways to start moving towards that include a vegetable or fruit in every meal or snack. Enjoy a vegetarian meal from time to time featuring plant-based protein like beans or lentils. Choose fruit and nuts for dessert, limiting sweets. Aim to eat fish twice a week. Explore whole grains and choose them more often. And again, it's not saying you need to do all of these things right away, but let's say every 2 weeks you incorporate one of these ideas. Each time you do that, you're moving closer towards a Mediterranean eating pattern that just helps provide all these different health benefits. Next slide. How much and how often to consume the different foods? Green leafy vegetables should be consumed every day, and the serving sizes vary. Be half a cup of cut up raw or cooked vegetable. If you are going to have vegetable juice, make sure it is no sugar added or you're juicing it yourself. It could also be 1 cup of raw leafy vegetables. Other vegetables should be consumed at least once per day. Half a cup of cut up raw or cooked vegetable or half a cup of vegetable juice, no sugar added, is a typical serving size. Nuts are recommended to have every day as well. 1 serving is considered 1/3 of a cup or 1.5 ounces of nuts. Could also be 2 tablespoons of peanut butter or other nut butter, 2 tablespoons or half an ounce of seeds. Berries are recommended to have at least twice per week. It would be a quarter cup of dried berries or half a cup of fresh, frozen, or canned berries. Beans recommended to have every other day. One serving is half a cup cooked. Whole grains is 3 times per day, and which most people are usually shocked by that because typically society is all about shunning carbohydrates and starchy foods. The important thing with having starchy foods and carbohydrates is having high quality sources and controlling for portions. So one serving size is 1 slice of bread, half a cup of cooked rice, half a cup of cooked pasta, half a cup of cooked oatmeal, and really emphasizing to choose whole grains. Fish is recommended at least once or twice per week. One serving is 3-ounce portion. Poultry like chicken, turkey is recommended at least twice per week. Again, 3-ounce portion. Olive oil is recommended to have at least 2 servings per day. 1 teaspoon is 1 serving. And there is a lot of resources on the internet, like free recipes and guides about the Mediterranean diet, because again, it's something that has been researched for a very long time. It's very readily available. And one great resource is Eating Well. So that is something to check out to start incorporating some anti-inflammatory recipes into your diet. Next slide. Other lifestyle habits to help reduce inflammation to basically be an adjunct in the Mediterranean diet: avoiding tobacco, limiting alcohol, being physically active, getting adequate rest, managing stress, and managing our body weight. Next slide. That's it.
Thank you, Danielle, for your presentation. And I just wanted to apologize for everybody. We were having some technical difficulties with the video. But if anybody has any questions, you can put them in the Q&A feature, and all questions are anonymous. Danielle, can you see the Q&A feature on the bottom of your screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so let me see. So I do see someone asked, can we get a copy of the slides? This is a recorded presentation and it does get added to the Mather Hospital website. So it's something that you can reference once it is added there. I see, what can I substitute for nuts because I'm allergic? So seeds and nuts are very comparable to each other. So you can, if you are not allergic to seeds, then that is something that you could use instead of nuts. And sometimes you may need to also work with a health professional to find other foods that might be suitable to provide certain health benefits and help you come up with substitute ideas. But usually seeds are a very comparable substitute for nuts. How, if at all, does this diet need to be adjusted for a person with diabetes? So it's a very healthy diet that can be followed by someone with diabetes because it really focuses on avoiding things that are heavy in added sugar, and it focuses on balancing your plate. So having a balance of protein, carbohydrate, and fat, which helps us control our blood sugar. And sometimes things need to be individualized because everyone has different responses to food and our bodies respond in different ways. And again, that's where it's really helpful to work with a health professional to make sure that you are making choices that are best for you and your unique health history. But this definitely is something that can be followed by someone with diabetes. Okay. Although the slide with the diet plan would be a lot to write down, I wasn't able to send to my printer from the webinar, but I'll be able to do that from the recording. So I would assume that you can screenshot the recording once it's available if you are trying to get the diet pattern that was written down on there. I'm not sure if Jonathan can speak to that.
Yeah, so I can send the PowerPoint to everybody who attended the webinar. So that'll be out at some point today, if not tomorrow. Okay.
Great, so that is answered. I don't see any references to red meat / beef. Should this be avoided? So it's with red meat / beef, It is something that can be consumed. It's just not recommended for the Mediterranean diet to be consumed regularly. So let's say maybe if you wanted to have it once a week, I would think that's acceptable. And just also being mindful of what your overall dietary pattern looks like. And again, there's modifications that can be made to the Mediterranean diet in general because there's a lot of variety within just the country itself that it originated from. Well, it's really the continent, and just kind of making it work for ourselves. You don't have to go from 0 to 100 where you completely change your diet and it's 100% Mediterranean. You can take small steps and make modifications as needed. What is your opinion on stevia as a sugar substitute? It definitely can be an option if you like stevia. I know, and for myself personally, it's a very strong, unique taste. I personally don't like stevia or the taste of it, but some people really love it. So it's definitely an acceptable sugar substitute. And I always just recommend whenever you are using a sugar substitute, just kind of pay attention to if you have any reactions to it. Sometimes people get headaches from sugar substitutes. Sometimes they get a dry mouth. Sometimes they get, like especially with sugar alcohols, bloating, gas, and cramping. So it's really about trying different things that you like and seeing what works best for you, and what works best for one person might not work for another. Is there any information about recommended servings, like 2 servings per day of this or 1 serving per day of that? There is, and that is in the presentation, which will be sent out. So it'll show you like the different foods and what's recommended for servings. So that information will be provided to you. And what is the influence of the Mediterranean diet on glucose and glucose spikes? So it definitely can benefit our blood sugar and blood sugar spikes. But again, it's something that we do have to monitor and individualize and work with a health professional to make sure that we're balancing our nutrients. We're not having too much carbohydrate in one meal versus another, because that is important to make sure that we're not causing blood sugar spikes. And again, some people are affected by certain foods with their blood sugar where others aren't. For example, a good example is bananas. Everyone thinks that bananas should automatically be avoided and that they cause high blood sugar spikes, but it doesn't happen to everyone. And I've had patients before where they had high blood sugar spikes from something like apples, where most people don't have high blood sugar spikes from apples. So it really can vary, but the most important thing is making sure to balance whether it's a meal or snack and be mindful of portions. Do you have drink recommendations when you want something other than water and want to avoid alcohol and sodas? Is there a fruit drink or flavoring item like Crystal Light that are okay to use? So there's always been conflict when it comes to sugar substitutes. And at the end of the day, you kind of have to do what feels best for you. Like I said, pay attention to the way your body reacts to sugar substitutes. If it's something that you don't feel comfortable using, or maybe it's something that you don't believe in, then you don't have to use it, but it definitely, at this point in time, it's considered safe to use and safe to consume. So you can use something like Crystal Light. You can put fruit in your water to help give it flavor. There are like water bottles where you can like stick fruit in it's like a infuser that goes in the water bottle. I personally like to do frozen fruit in my water because I feel like it gives it more flavor when it's frozen and starts to defrost in there. You can also put herbs in your water. You can have seltzer or flavored seltzers. So that's what I would recommend for that. Are avocados recommended on this diet? Avocados are definitely a healthy fat. They are a great source of monounsaturated fats. So they do fall into the category with olive oil. Again, you just want to be mindful of portions. Healthy fats are very important to include in the diet. They're healthy, but we do also need to be mindful of portion control, because whether our calories are healthy or not, if we're having excess calories, that does lead to weight gain. So even if it's healthy calories, if we're having excess, that can cause weight gain. So avocados are very healthy. They're good to have. Just want to watch for portion control. Do you differentiate between veggies that are starchy versus non-starchy, like peas versus tomatoes? So it's something to be mindful of. Typically, what I recommend, like if you wanted to have potato at your meal, I wouldn't recommend to have like bread, pasta, rice as well. I would use the potato as my starch for the meal. Or if I want to have a little bit of both, doing half a portion of each to make one portion. Because it's definitely okay to have starchy foods. It's okay to have starchy vegetables, but we do want to make sure that, again, there's balance. That's what's really important. What are your thoughts of adding protein shakes from the store to your daily diet? So you certainly can incorporate protein shakes in a healthy diet. I would just, typically my philosophy is focusing mostly on whole foods, but you can use healthy, convenient foods, protein shakes being one of them, but I wouldn't only consume protein shakes. I would still also have whole foods throughout the day to balance that.
We'll give it a few more seconds to see if we have any other questions.
Okay. For some reason, my questions are like out of order, so I'm just trying to make sure that.
Mine as well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I got everything.
All right, so I think that's all the questions for today. If anybody has any additional questions, you can email them to matherhospital@northwell.edu. Once you exit the webinar, you will see a link to complete a brief survey. If you can complete this survey, your feedback is extremely important to us and it helps us plan future programs. So I just wanted to thank everybody again today for joining us. If you're interested in seeing other webinars, you can go to www.matherhospital.org